One, this Google Hangout on air is live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And I'm just going to refresh my other screen just to check whether or not. Yeah, you see, that's what it was doing on Sunday. So although this is saying that I'm live. Oh no, I know exactly. We're all right. You could, hold on. It is going live. It's just that there's going to be an advert for anybody who's actually watching it. That's yes, we're live and people can see us if there is, and we have 2 viewers at least. Hi folks, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Could you just introduce yourselves, please?
Hello, I'm James Moran.
Hello, I am Kat Davies.
Oh, and you both sound so beautiful. You just sound wonderful.
And
thank you.
So that you can hear it.
Yeah. So thank you very much indeed for joining me. We're here to talk about bloodshed. So who would like to kick off by just telling us a little bit about bloodshed, what it is, and what is it you're doing?
Bloodshed is a short horror comedy film. It's about a shed that eats people, basically. That's the very short version.
Right.
There isn't much of a longer version because it's a short film, so if it gets too much longer, then you can.
I know. I was having a conversation with my mate Katie Bonham the other day, and she was saying, people were asking her for a trailer for one of the short films I was in. And it's really hard to do a trailer for a short film. People do ask for them. Some festivals ask for them. But it's really hard not just to make it into a teaser without giving, or just doing the first 30 seconds of the movie, or something like that. And before we go a little bit further into that, you've got some exciting casting news that came out yesterday.
We do. It's very exciting. We have the fantastic Sally Phillips will be playing one of the 2 lead roles. She'll be playing Helen. And Sally is best known as one of the minds behind Smack the Pony. She's been in all 3 smash hit Bridget Jones films. She's in Veep for several seasons. Oh, she's just amazing. Green Wing, Miranda, Parents, that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies last year. We're over the moon. We're over the moon. She's amazing.
Comedy legend.
She is a comedy legend. I have to say, I most know her from her voice, because she plays Claire in the Community, which is probably the funniest radio show that I always religiously listen to if I have a chance, because it's just, absolutely amazing. Cool. So, all right. So brilliant. Congratulations on that. And I suppose the obvious question is, why a shed? What inspired you to write a horror film about a shed?
That all came from the title, which the title and the concept happened at the same time.
Yeah, I was cooking, and when I tend to cook, this is how I come up with a lot of ideas for scripts. Is I tend to be cooking, and I will talk to myself, and I will have a word or a title, or I'll do a voiceover to a trailer in my head. And I just had bloodshed, and I came through while I was cooking, and I said to James, "This might sound like a crazy idea, but what about bloodshed? And it's literally a monster shed that eats people. What do you think?" And he took a sort of quiet pause and was thinking, is this crazy? And then just went, this is brilliant, let's write it. And then we sat and wrote it quite quickly, really. And all of the pieces just fell into place with the script. Yeah, so it was one of my mad title ideas, which is where a lot of my ideas come from.
Yeah, and then we didn't sort of put it on paper for a while. We sort of sat around and kind of brainstormed it and kind of riffed on it and kind of thought up kind of strange situations and what would happen if there was a killer shed and who's involved and what happened. How does it actually kill people when it doesn't sort of get up and walk around?
Yeah, the logic of it. We were working out the logic of it, and we did. I have this thing when I'm writing anything, I like to do flow charts of there's this scene and there's this scene and there's this theme and then there's this joke, and it all gets linked together. And then we sat down and wrote a draft once we had that very quickly, and then we passed it back and forth. And then we went, hurrah, our baby is born. Let's try and get some money to actually make it. Let's make this monster shed actually happen.
That is really interesting, because I've attended, well, half at least of one of James's writing seminars, because the only reason it was half, folks, is because I happened to be at Fright Fest and I had to go out and do something else. And I'm fascinated by the idea of a flowchart. When you say a flowchart, do you kind of get index cards and put them on a cork board, or how do you do a flowchart?
Well, we work quite differently. The principle is the same. I tend to be more visual and based in pictures and flowcharts. So I'll show you. I can actually hold one up to the camera, I think. I'm going off camera for a second. So this, for example, is a flowchart for our crowdfunding as I did it. So if you can see that, it is literally flowcharts.
Wow.
Literally flowcharts. And that's how all of my stories will start. There will sometimes be for like a feature project, some index cards, and then I can play around with it. But James has a slightly different method that does the same thing, but is less pictorial.
It's kind of the same thing, except I don't sort of, like, we kind of brainstorm in the same way, but I don't kind of sort of like put it down in a little circle and then kind of have it in that kind of 3D form almost. I just sit with a text file and I just kind of think and brainstorm and come up with random stuff, and I just write it down sort of line by line by line. And if there's a line with sort of a related thought, then I put it directly underneath with a little double dash just to kind of show that it's related to that. So it's kind of the same thing, but it's in a straight line rather than the whirly kind of strictly thing.
I like the idea of a word, describing mind mapping as whirly, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get insight into the inner workings of my mind when you see my flowcharts, and that's how everything starts, with be it Connie or other short films or TV pictures. Everything starts in that kind of way, and then I keep them, and they're my little pieces of art. I think because it looks prettier on a page, I'm more likely to continue with actually developing the idea rather than being confronted with a massive wall of text. It helps me keep going if I've got a picture or some colours on a page to look at.
Mine's kind of rambly as well, because as I'm brainstorming, if I think of something and then I kind of go, oh no, hang on, that won't work because of this, I'll just keep typing. I'll type that all in as I'm thinking it, so that when I come back to it, I can see what my thought process was. So if you put both of them together, I mean, they look like the ravings of a serial killer. It's like when you break into John Doe's flat in Seven, this is the kind of stuff you'd find stuck up to the walls.
Yeah.
It's just, oh God, I hate to think of someone broke into our flat and made a judgment about our brain based on the random stuff we've got.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Do you, because James, you work at a typewriter, you work at a keyboard when you're doing your kind of brainstorming. Kat, you obviously do it more physically. And I remember when I was writing short stories, again, like yourself, I mean, you had a big board of big mind map, in fact, of monsters, everything to do with monsters when I was writing what monsters do. Kat, can you see yourself ever giving up your pen and paper and trying to use an app in order to be able to do your flowcharts? Or is it just that sheer physical thing of writing?
Yeah, I think it is. And I could easily do something similar in a mind mapping tool on my iPad. But there's something, because you don't know when an idea is just going to hit you. And more often than not, I have a piece of paper either in my bag or close by. So it could be something that happens when I'm cooking, and there's a piece of paper that I will scribble something on, or if I'm on a train. I don't like to feel restricted to having a lovely MacBook in front of me to put things down on. Not that James does, but I do like the physical act of getting an idea out of my head and on a page. I still love that. I'm an old girl, so I remember the days when I didn't have a mobile phone or an iPad, and I just had a pencil actually and a piece of paper at school. So there is still a part of me that I think feels a deep connection with that. Yeah. So no, I'll never, ever, ever get rid of that, ever. Unless we run out of trees and paper, then I have a real issue.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sure.
People
run out. We should be fine.
Yeah, and hemp. You can make paper out of hemp and linen, and there's papyrus. and poor dead cows. Yeah, I'm sure, there's lots of alternatives to trees. Okay, so that's really fascinating. Thank you very much. So you said, okay, I completely understand that. Often when you're creating and you're writing, it's a scene or it's one line that sparks off the idea. Out of curiosity, what are your experiences with sheds? Do you have any fond memories of sheds, or?
I think I played hide and seek in a shed once as a kid. My nan had a garden shed where I grew up in Rhyl, and it was a really freaky, scary, stinky, spider-infested place that, my old toys just used to get bagged up and then chucked in the shed, and then they were never to be seen again. So it was kind of a strange place which was all dark and there was no light in it, and it really, the smell of damp and rot. I think they can be beautiful, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of wonderful shed fanciers out there, of which we consider ourselves two of them. But at the same time, some sheds can be really frightening, and we've got a couple of allotments around where we live, and some are beautiful, and you can tell the ones that are beautifully varnished and preened and have names, and the difference to the ones that perhaps are a bit forgotten.
Well, some of them are clearly body dump sites. They're a crime scene, some of them. You can just tell that some bad things have happened there. And it's just, no one's going to come to the allotment. We'll just sort of bury it in there or chuck it in the shed. It's like when pets go and live on a farm.
Oh.
It's like the toys, the body's gone into the shed. It's gone in the shed.
It's fascinating what you're saying about that smell of shed. I mean, my childhood shed, my father, it was the place where the lawnmower was kept at the bottom of like a third of an acre, so it's a long way to get to the shed, and it was right in the middle of all the other gardens and all by itself.
Feels like it's a long way to get to the shed.
And I should just perhaps explain the phrase "shed fancier," which you used earlier on. That's possibly not what people are thinking about.
It's not like a sort of a common term, is it?
No, we just thought
I mean, that was the first thing that when after Kat came in and said this is either a great idea or a terrible idea, and I kind of realised it was a great idea. And then my immediate thought was, we'll get to buy a shed. We'll have to get a shed, and I'll have to pick out a shed. So I immediately went online and started looking through DIY shops and looking through sheds and making lists of sheds and
hours and hours
getting
of
photos
sheds.
of sheds. It was a bit of an obsession.
And a man's love for his shed is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Don't judge it. Don't judge that.
Yeah. They are extraordinary. I mean, culturally, they're extraordinary things. And I have to say, there is the shed in our garden was supplied by a company over in Streatham, near Streatham Common Station, and their tagline was "the fastest erections in South London."
I'm not saying anything.
I know, so we had to ask them, we're two lads buying a shed, so we said, seriously, so what does that mean? They said, well, often if they're there kind of early evening on a Friday night, they might get calls from hen parties asking about their fastest directions.
That's great branding technique. That's great.
Yeah, no, and as you say, some sheds are absolutely stunning. People have offices. They have, I think many marriages survive on the fact that the husband has a shed.
Exactly.
They can just
broken apart by sheds.
Oh, this is very true. But it's the fact that you just go into the shed, potter around, get out the way, and just be by yourself and just model train sets, gardening,
summer house.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to this film. It sounds so much fun. So let's come back to one of the you're doing your Kickstarter. How much have you raised now in percentage so far of your target?
I think we're on day 9. We've raised 45%. We think we're literally checking.
I'm just checking that. 45%.
Yes, 45.5%. 47% to be precise.
45.1%. If we're being
very precise. Very precise. Yeah, it's gone well. The first week went really well, and so we're really hoping that we get to our target, which is £10,000. And we've got 18 or 19 days to go. So we're really hoping that we get there, because without it, the film won't be made. But we're hoping to get into stretch goals so that pledges can have some little extras in there, and we can really make our shed all bells and whistles, and
put some extras in the shed.
Yeah, put some extras in that shed. Make her look beautiful. Put a nice dress on her, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's right. I've now just got such a vision of your shed in a dress. That seems, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Perhaps put little frilly curtains around the windows or something. So why, you talk about the fact that Kickstarter campaign, it's an all or nothing deal, as all their campaigns on. Why did you go for Kickstarter rather than Indiegogo, which does give you the chance of just working with whatever money you can raise?
We really enjoy the feeling of being absolutely terrified for a full month. We really appreciate that. It's because it's all or nothing. We worked out how we could make it, because we're going for a very specific sort of look and feel. We're going for an 80s horror anthology, creep show kind of style, and to do that properly, you can't do it for £2,000. So we worked out what the bare minimum we'd need to make it, and we thought if we went Indiegogo, we might get like maybe 6 and not get all the way, and then we'd have to make the film, and we wouldn't be able to make it for 6. And then, so it'll stop us making it for less than we can make it for.
Yeah, I think it's that tricky thing of when you need to make a really good short with the kind of cast we had in mind, and the production design and the music, and the shed. When you know how much you need really to make that to a good standard, it would be very hard for us to then go, we've raised £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, £6,000, and then of course we'd be delivering something to pledges that wouldn't be of the same kind of standard, because we wouldn't be able to make it. So I think for us, we'd rather make it knowing what we need, rather than try and struggle along and make something that's kind of not really quite what we promised, or that is shorter, or that doesn't look as we want it to look, or just has to have hardly any post on it, because that's very expensive. I just don't think either of us would like to put our name to something like that, really. So as much as Kickstarter is all or nothing, when you're running a Kickstarter, you're going to do the same amount of work to get the money. You're still going to have to blast the hell out of Twitter and Facebook and do your updates and beg for press and beg people around you. There's the same merciless, tiring begging that is going to happen whether you use Kickstarter or Indiegogo. There's the same level of stress and sleepless nights and tiredness. Can you tell? It goes on regardless of the platform that you use. So for us, it was more about doing something well, and we can do that on the budget that we've set out.
Right. We do have a comment from Mauricio Reyes, who said maybe you could have more gore added per stretch goal.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. We got some very cool sort of plans for the short if we do get into stretch goals. We'll make it the way we promised to make it. But if we get into stretch goals, then we can start making it even shinier and bloodier and
gorier,
splatterier,
with a bit of lung in there and a bit of stomach.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing better for Sally Phillips than wearing a piece of intestine as earrings. I'm sure she'll love it. It'll be great. But we've got some great stretch goals planned, and we just really want to get it made. We really want to get it made.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because how out of curiosity, when did you have that light bulb moment in the kitchen? How long ago was that?
That was I think it was November, because I was working up other short film ideas and my feature script at the same time, because I never have enough to do.
No,
I seem to like not sleep for some reason, as well as my obsessive flowcharts and my colour. I like to have a million things to do. So I think it was back in November. I think the 3 ideas kind of hit at once, and that was the one that we knew from the outset we would run with more as a writing team with James directing. Yeah. But I also knew from the outset the cost that would be involved in that. And so we've sort of plugged more of our efforts over the last few months into gearing up for the Kickstarter, because we had a lot of the ideas for the pitch in sort of December, but you find that you have to time it quite well with Kickstarters. There's no point in doing, I don't think anyway, a Kickstarter in December.
No.
Because everyone's busy with Christmas and New Year. The last thing people that I know would want to do before Christmas is give us 50 quid or 1,000 quid for our short film when they're trying to buy presents for their kids and they want to have a massive New Year's Eve bash. They'd rather spend it on fireworks.
And similarly, in January, everyone's broke and miserable, be healthy, and it's just January's not a good time. For anything.
No.
I did January for charity last year, and it was the worst decision I think I've ever made in my life, because it was just grim. And it's like, if you can't have a drink in January to sort of get you through January, then God.
There's a question.
That wasn't fun either.
So in terms, and I'll come back a little bit more about Kickstarter, we just had a question in from Danny, who's just saying, when are you planning, assuming that the campaign is successful and you're well on track for that at the moment, when are you aiming to film?
Last week of April.
Yes, end of April.
Yeah, definitely last week of April. That works better for us because it takes several weeks for Kickstarter funds to clear anyway.
Yeah.
So there is that lag time. And also, even though we're still running the crowdfunding, we're obviously still doing part of the pre-production. So things like the casting, bits of production design, crewing up, press bits, all of that. So we're already working on it, but we need the time, and that sort of...
It's kind of the earliest we can.
It's the earliest we can do it, but also we need to be mindful of our crew's availability, the actors who are really in demand. You know, they're very busy, so we have to have they have to have a narrow window. So end of April it will be, and hopefully post-production by sort of, we would like to hopefully have, this is all theoretical at this point, but to hopefully have, you know, festival life shortly after that, we hope. If people like it, might just go, God, it's dead. What are you on about?
Oh, you were serious. It actually is.
It really is a shed. Okay.
I thought it was going to be a serious film, but sort of something to say. But
have you got as far as working out how many days you're going to be filming?
2 days. We're going to do 2 days.
2 days.
So it's sort of 9-10 page script, which actually, when we shot my last short, Connie, we had a 15-page script and 34 scenes to shoot in 2 days, which we did, which was tough. So this, I think, is sort of 14 or 15, but there's the added complexity of lots of it outdoors.
There's blood, there's effects.
Lots of blood, lots of effects, much bigger crew, and we'll need more breaks as well, because obviously if you get blood on you, you have to go and change, and then we need a new costume. So there's all of that added layer of complexity. Also, that shed is going to pose some interesting personality problems, you know, at times. So we need the time to really set the lighting kit and have her come alive. You know, we want, can I say her name? No.
Okay, but it's a she.
She's a she.
We can exclusively reveal it's a she, and I think it's important that we understand that. I have to say about standing for your shed, because you know you can't just put sheds on a patch of ground. You've got to have something to put them on.
Yes.
We need some sort of base.
Yes.
I've been looking at hundreds of sheds and different types of sheds and different bases and different roofs and different felts and different weatherproofing and varnishes and structures. Do you go for windowless for security? Do you go for one window? Do you go for 2 windows for symmetry? And it's...
This is my life right now. £3 a month, you can help Cat Davies escape this torment. If you're having a Kickstarter, you can help this nightmare end. Yeah.
I'm going to be absolutely fascinated to see all the behind the scenes stuff, the shed and how it works and so on. It's brilliant. So what have you learned about Kickstarter? Is there, I mean, you say you're 9 days in now. Is there anything, what have you learned? And is this your first, I think this is your first Kickstarter, James, is that right? Or
I did one in 2011 for Crazy For You, my first short. And that wasn't Kickstarter, that was a crowdfunding platform called SponseYumi, which has since died.
Right.
I think I killed it off.
You took on them.
I did. But yeah, back then it was still kind of new to crowdfund things, and it was sort of new and exciting, and I wasn't looking for as much because it wasn't as big a budget as this. So yeah, so I kind of thought I've done a successful crowdfunding campaign, so it should be kind of the same sort of thing. But the landscape's changed quite a bit because people are much more cynical and dubious about what they'll invest in now.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff out there, and they have to be sure that the people are going to, what have they done before? Are they going to finish it? Are they going to deliver? Is it going to be any good? Am I actually going to get my perks?
Yeah.
Because that, like it or not, there are a significant percentage of people on every platform who don't finish a thing and who don't deliver perks. Not a lot, but there are enough to make you kind of
it's noticeable.
Double check.
Yeah.
Before I do contribute to quite a few Kickstarter, but I double check who they are and make sure that it's actually going to happen, because I want to get my stuff.
Yeah, you want your swag. I think.
Want my swag.
Kickstarter's an interesting one because we did all of the sort of theorizing in the world around what's the best day to launch. Is there a good time to launch? And we've got lots of friends who've run some really successful, particularly Kickstarter campaigns. But the advice seems to be different depending on what it is you're kickstarting for. So the advice for tech is very different to films, differs again to comics. From what we've seen so far, the day doesn't matter. The day you launch on doesn't matter, actually, as long as it's probably not a weekend. But the biggest spike we actually had for pledges last week was Friday evening through to Saturday morning when we woke up, and we just we wanted to get to 25%. We woke up and it was 35, nearly 36%. So that was kind of, there was no pattern.
Yeah, we've learned that there's nothing to learn, and no one knows anything about Kickstarter. It's like we looked at so many articles and asked so many people, and every person says a different thing. It's like, oh, Monday's the best day to launch because of this. And I was like, no, Monday's a terrible day. It's got to be Tuesday because everyone's going to come back after the weekend and they're busy on Monday. So Tuesday is kind of the new Monday. And everyone's like, no, Friday is the best day because it's the end of the week and everyone's excited. Like, no, you can't do it on Friday because it's just before the weekend and the weekends are dead. And it's just everyone. It's like when you start watching a new TV show that's been on for years, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, the second season's the best." Oh yeah, the sixth season is the best. The second season's terrible.
Yeah,
it's just completely different, and it's just completely random as to when pledges come in and when people get excited about stuff. It's completely random. So we've learned nothing, and we've learned everything.
But I think what we have learned is offer a really good tier of perks. I mean, we've got quite a few different tiers of perks. Some people might go, God, there's so many perks. Can you just have slightly fewer? But that really works because there will be some people who really love the project, who will want to be a producer on it or an exec producer or put their product in it or come for dinner with us at BAFTA. But then equally, there might be some people who are just happy to see the film or have their name in the credits. But then there'll be some who will want to get something signed by the cast or a piece of the set or a prop or a piece of the shed, so it's important to have things at different levels, I think.
Yeah, you got to have something for everyone. So it's kind of like three sort of main levels. Like the very sort of the low end where you get the film, the middle end where there's sort of been some interesting swag and stuff, and then the top end for people with lots of spare cash. Important that, one common denominator we did find was that the £25 perk in any campaign is always the most popular. Because it's like, it's not too much, it's not too little, and you get something decent for it. So we made that kind of, you know, it's like for 10 you get the short and a couple of bits, and then for 25 you get the short and behind the scenes and digital extras and bits. So it's just to make it a sort of an attractive package so that people would still kind of go for it.
Yeah, I noticed, I know you, in fact, you mentioned it on your perks, that you're concentrating on digital download rather than DVD and trying to limit the amount of physical posting you're going to have to do.
Yeah, well, it's partly that, but partly also I've backed a few short films, and I don't want, you know, if I back 5 short films, I don't want 5 DVDs on my shelf of short films. Because, like, you know, you sit down on Friday night, you're going to go, let's watch this movie on Netflix, or we'll stick on a DVD. You don't kind of go, right, let's get 3 short film DVDs out and kind of put them in one after the other and sit and watch a short film for 8 minutes. It just felt like a bit of a false economy in that, you know, it's nice to have it on a shelf, but are you really going to get out and stick it on your telly? You know, isn't it easier to just like queue it up on your laptop or stream it or get it through
Roku or Google Chrome or throw it by Apple? And I think also I did a comedy DVD publishing job like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was when DVD was massively on the decline. So and I loved doing it, but for me to make a DVD to a really beautiful standard where you have nice on body and you've got a lovely box, you're then looking at a supply chain and creating a supply chain, and financially to have the unit price and the cost price as low as you can get it so that you put more money into actually making the film, the kind of stock you'd be looking at for that is just tremendous. To bring down the cost price for each one would just be mad, you know. To go and print 20, not as cost effective as doing 300, but then what do you do with them afterwards? And also it's a 10-minute short film, and it's not so much the postage, it's more about the supply chain, because we're not in this to become a DVD distributor, if you like, in the longer term. It's to get the film made and to have something beautiful for us and for everyone involved, and to have it play festivals, and maybe there will be life after on, you know, Shudder take short films now, and Shorts International, they distribute things and, you know, put together film anthologies and things like that. So there is a life beyond it, but for us, we're not doing it to sort of spend 6 months designing a DVD for everyone when they might just pop it away. Yeah,
I don't want to make a beautiful film and then send out a kind of cheap, shoddy looking DVD.
That's the other thing. DVD
or a
quality,
really expensive one.
DVD quality is not brilliant. You know, it's the equivalent of VHS to Betamax. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Whereas VHS is an interesting proposition, though.
Video chess.
VHS.
Oh, VHS. Sorry.
Did I say video chess? I think I did.
No, it's just you know, old age. Mutton Jeff.
No. Oh God, I'm the same. VHS. VHS is a really interesting prospect now. There are festivals in the States, and they show all of the films on VHS. And there are a couple of people now putting out short compilations on VHS, because there's still that. I still love VHS. VHS will always be my favourite format. It's like vinyl to me, because, you know, I love the tracking issues and the degradation of quality if you watch something 1,000 times over. I'm an old VHS nerd. So that's something that I think is interesting for shorts and for features, particularly independent features going forward, I think.
Ah, okay. That's very interesting. Okay, cool. All right, so you mentioned the 3 different levels of tiers. What else have you got coming up in terms of supporting the campaign? Is there anything else happening, or is it just a question now of just getting as many interviews out and as many articles and just tweeting?
There's another well, the other cast member to be announced probably this week, hopefully.
He's great. He's great.
He's amazing,
and he's going to be fantastic opposite Sally. He really is. So we're really excited about that.
Yes, we've got that. We got more featured backers, which is a nice thing that we've been doing. Yeah, it's just get someone who's backed us, and then get a little quote and a picture, and just kind of show why they wanted to back it.
To support us. It's not a ploy to get people to compliment us at all. It genuinely is.
Well, I have to say, one of my favourites is Kim Newman's, who started talking about the shed of Dracula.
Yes, exactly. It's great. No, so we've got featured backers. We're going to do a shed hunt video because we're looking for the right locations, some of which already have sheds, some which don't. So we're doing shed hunt. We're also doing a blood test video where we're testing out the different colours and textures of bloods that we'll be using. So
and the spray effects, like, is it like a long stream effect, or is it like kind of a brief spurt effect?
Yeah, so that's coming. We're also going to do, depending on how the campaign goes, we may do a sort of charity appeal video. Support.
Not a real charity.
No.
No, but in the style of a charity. There was so ever since I heard about this, I remember watching a documentary. It's Shortsighted Cinema. Yeah, there is a wonderful short documentary about men and their hobbies. And I just racking my brains for the memory of it. But I just think there's all sorts of things that you could do just to kind of just support and just have little things coming up. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Okay, so how can people find your campaign?
So we are on Twitter at Bloodshed Film, and we've also got a website, which is bloodshedfilm.com. And we've got a Facebook group, which is Bloodshed Shorts. And we're on Twitter and Facebook, and we're sending out carrier pigeons. And there'll be, we're going to send a herd of rats through the street with little tags on their back with the website URL on it. And go to Kickstarter, and I think you just type in Bloodshed Film, and we're in the horror section.
Yeah.
Or
just go to our website, and the link is there. Yeah. It's a really long Kickstarter link.
They're not. The links go on for days.
Yeah.
So if you go to bloodshedfilm.com, and it's right there on the front page when we end the campaign, and general update, and the link is there.
And also, there's a tip. I'm sure there's a short version of your link. In fact, just put it into Bitly, of course, if you want to share it. There's ways of shortening. Bitly shorten Kickstarter links very effectively because I think it's the ones that they use. Brilliant. This has been so much fun, guys. I just asked, actually, there is one question coming from Danny just before we go. And thank you so much indeed for joining us, folks. I have to say, James, I know that one of your supporters, because he happened... that's just too long a story, but basically it was because he was watching Cockneys versus Zombies that he came across the campaign. So
that's
he really enjoyed it. So I happen to know that's one of the reasons why he supported. Yes, the question that came in, from Danny, was were you influenced by John Carpenter's Christine at all when you were writing the script?
Oh yeah. I mean, all of those influences are in there in our minds. John Carpenter's films, a lot of creep show and that kind of style. It's more anthology movies of the 80s because it felt like a sort of one of the weird kind of 10-minute stories you'd find in one of those films, where it'd be like you get 4 or 5 stories in one thing, and then this would be the really weird one.
Yeah, and the aesthetic of it as well that we had in mind really early on was very creep show in terms of lighting and production design and really exaggerated angles for key moments, things like that. So aesthetically, I think creep show, but Christine for that sort of the inanimate becoming real, and it seems to be a theme in some of the work that we do with the puppet films. We like to make an animal.
Connie is one creepy little puppet. Yeah. Such a nice smile, but so dangerous. Right, cool. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining me. We have had, and thank you very much indeed for those of you who've actually been watching and posting questions and so on. On Sunday, just to give a quick reminder to people, the show's back in its normal time on normal time on Sunday, and I'm going to be talking to Simon Graham and Richard McAvoy Crompton about the Monster Project, which is a great charity project. You can find out about that on Sunday. Would you like to say goodbye, folks?
Goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. May the shed be with you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Chattering with Nicholas Vince. I have been talking with James Moran and Kat Davies about Bloodshed, their Kickstarter campaign, which is on Kickstarter at the very moment. It just sounds so wonderful. Please go and support, and I'll hopefully see some of you guys on Sunday.